I have a little craft for us, so I thought I would just hop on here and work on it with you guys. I have this fall sign that I got from Dollar Tree way back in the fall. It's a mason jar. Anytime I see a mason jar sign, I just grab them because I love working with them. And then I also have this berry patch printable, and I got this from the Cottage Market website. It was a free download. I'll have that in the description of this video, or you can comment link and I will get that for you so that you can download it too. And so let's just put it all together and see what we get today. It's been a little while. I'm feeling kind of out of sorts here, but I'm sure I'll get back in my groove. All right, so the first thing that I'm gonna do is take off this scratchy little top piece, and it looks like it's gonna come off really easy for me. So there's that. The glue was not attached very well. I'm actually gonna save it because I'm gonna use it, but I'll kind of repaint it and add some details to it to make it look just a little bit cuter. As I've said before on my videos, it's really hard to cover up the glitter, the design. Even if you paint over it, you still kind of see the outline. So what I'm gonna do today is just use some of this contact shelf liner that I got from Dollar General, and we're gonna just cover the back up right away. I'm gonna try something kind of new today. Instead of trying to cut it exactly to shape, my dogs are gonna bark for me. Instead of cutting it exactly to shape, I'm just gonna kind of stick the whole big piece on there and then trim around. And so let's kind of see how that works out for me. I'll trim around it with my X-Acto knife, but it's really hard to get it lined up exactly how it needs to be. So I'm just gonna go for this. Just kind of get it flat. Try not to get any wrinkles on here. All right. I got a little bit off on the edge there, but not too much, so I don't think it's going to be very noticeable. Now I'm just going to turn it over. I'm going to get my little cutting mat here so that I don't have to worry about my table or anything underneath, and get my X-Acto knife. And let's see if this works better than maybe just like cutting it with scissors. Hopefully it'll kind of just cut all the way through and come off really close. So far, I think this is working. I'm just gonna kind of go around the whole outline of my shape here. Trying not to trim off. That didn't. Sometimes you kind of grab your piece instead of the paper, so you have to watch for that. But otherwise, I think that's going to be pretty easy. So I'm just going to keep spinning it around on my mat and keep cutting right up next to the edge here. And then any that's left over, of course, we can just use the mini sander to get that off. And I think this is just maybe going to be a little bit easier than tracing and cutting. Yeah, super easy. So I'm glad I tried that. Sometimes you try new things and it doesn't work out, but luckily this time I think it's going to be better. Just kind of trying to get all my little sticky pieces thrown away once I get them done. Keeps wanting to grab that wood piece. There's some little overhanging edges. I guess you could maybe sand that first, but not really necessary. And I did already take the staples out and take that hanger off that was on there. I saved the little string because I'm gonna add it back. I'm just checking. I have a little piece here that's kind of poking out. I'm just gonna try to go ahead and trim that off because sanding is messy. So if I can trim it, I think that's just gonna be a lot better. Okay. I think I got pretty close to my edges and everything is looking really good. You can tell there was a little bump right here. Stuff is sticking. Okay, so yeah, I think we got really close. Now it's just a smooth, pretty back. And I don't have to worry about trying to paint and cover up all of that. But let's go ahead and sand those edges. Just to make sure that it's nice and even. And this is super easy to shape up. It just sands right off anything that's overhanging. And also it just is kind of smoothing up this wood because it had a few little jagged pieces. And you do always kind of want to sand in the same direction. That way you don't pull your paper back off. You always, I sand top to bottom, just down like that usually. Okay, and now it looks really nice. I didn't think about it. I probably should have done this. I think about it too late every time, but maybe paint the other side first. That way you don't have to worry about any of the paint getting on to your pretty back piece, but we can wipe it off if it gets on there, but that's just a tip to remember whenever you are making yours. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and use white this time. And then I'm also, of course, gonna use some different colors for accenting, but we're gonna start with a nice white. I kind of wanna, this wood's a little funky here. Sand my places kind of where those staples were sticking up and any edges that are looking kind of ragged. There, and then let's get some white chalk paint here. I really like using chalk paint because it's a really good thick coverage and it dries quicker than acrylic. I usually like to work from the middle out. That way you're not dragging clumps of paint across your edges. You still might kind of get a few clumps that you have to smooth out, but it's not as bad. Then once you get it all covered, you can go back and do your long strokes so that all of your brush strokes are going in the same direction. Hi, ASMR. I am from Oklahoma. She says she's from France. That's so cool. I live in Oklahoma, USA, and I'm working on a strawberry mason jar craft. Thanks for tuning in with me today. Do you craft or did you just happen upon me? just a little bit left here on the bottom. She says she just happened upon me. Well, welcome, welcome. All right, we'll kind of see how this dries. I might need another coat, but I'm also going to be doing some distressing, so I'm not super worried about like a heavy coverage. So it's probably going to be fine. If you want it to be solid white, you might want to do another coat. But like I said before, I'm going to add some more colors. So I just don't think it's going to be necessary. But let's give it a quick dry. She says she likes strawberries. I love strawberries too. Really, that's like my favorite flavor. I only eat strawberry jam. So I knew when I saw this printable that I had to make something with it. Let's give this a quick dry. Make sure it turns out okay, but I don't think I'm going to add a second coat. I am not working at U.S. government. I really don't know what that comment's about. Okay, I think that's mostly dry. And because, yeah, I know, I saw them say that. Kind of weird. Anyways, because my printable here has a little bit of kind of a taupey color, I'm going to use that to distress. So I'm going to use here some mineral chalk paint by Waverly. I get this at Walmart. And just kind of dry brush some of that on. So I'm going to get a little on my brush, and then I'm going to tap a little bit of it off, just so that, and I'm probably going to cover up this top part here. Sorry, I'm thinking, probably going to cover that up, but I'll go ahead and put a little bit on there anyways. Just kind of get the edges because I'm going to have my printable design in the middle. Just not a lot. I want to try to keep this project really still kind of light. So just a little bit to add some interest here. Nothing real heavy. Just give it a little extra dimension and color. She says, I motivated her to do a little housework before going. Tomorrow is work day in France. Oh, so you don't work on work day. That's how that works? Is that what you're saying? Is it like a holiday? I'm not going to do a whole lot in the middle here because that's where my printable is going to be. But just kind of go a little on the edges here. Nothing super heavy. She says yes. Well, that's awesome. I like no work days. I think holidays are fun. Okay. Sorry about that. I have something weird going on with my phone. Okay, let me show again because I'm not sure that if you got to see it. I was a little bit frozen, but just adding a little bit of distressing around those edges with some of that mineral color. Just something kind of soft. And I may add some antiquing wax in a little bit, but for now, I'm going to kind of put this to the side and let it dry for a minute while I work on my printable here. And I think I'm just gonna, use my ruler and tear some rough edges. She said no school because no teacher. It's a vandalized day for everyone who works. Well, that's neat. Okay, so I'm just gonna hold down kind of my straight edge and tear off the extra parts. And then I may go back and kind of shape it up differently a little bit later, but for now, I just want to get away that extra paper that I don't want to Mod Podge on. You could also use like a water pen or a paintbrush dipped in water to go around your edge and then tear it away if you want to shape it more that way. And I don't want it to be just completely square, so I'm kind of going to go ahead and tear away my corners at just some different shape. And then I'll also use, I'm sure I'll use my sanding tool to kind of shape that up as well once I get it on there. But we'll go ahead and tear away those corners a little bit. Okay, so let's see here. I'm gonna give this a quick dry just to make sure that it's dry. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cover the whole thing with some Mod Podge. And I'm covering the whole thing because, well, I want it to all look the same, but also if I do any more distressing with wax or distressing ink, it just glides better on the Mod Podge than the kind of matte finish of this paint. So gonna kind of just put it all in the middle here. Make sure that I have a clump. Sometimes it dries and gets a little clumpy. Let's take the lid off and see what we've got going on. I really like these bottles because they, it comes out really easy, but just every now and then it gets a little clumped and you kind of have to clean it out. Especially if I don't get my cap put on right away. It can have a little bit dry in the tip there. Let me see if I can find something skinny. I don't think this is gonna be skinny enough. I do have a pin right there too. Let me use the tip of my, there we go. tip of my knife here just to pull that clump out. Got it. Goodness, my doggy is doing a lot of barking today. Okay. All right, got that situated. Sorry, guys. Now it's coming out. Okay. One reason to get the lid back on pretty quick. And then I'm just going to use the spongy brush to spread it out and try to get an even coat across my project. And again, I'm just working from the middle out to the edge. So she's going. Hope to love the end result. Yeah, if you gotta go, come back later, check out the replay and you can see how it ended up. It does take a little time sometimes to get it all finished. I do have 2 dogs. I have 2 mini Dachshunds. Okay. Now we'll let that dry. While I'm working on the rest of it, I'm just going to kind of wrap this in a wet wipe so that it doesn't dry too much on my brush, because I'm going to be using that again. Sorry, I'm just checking my comments here. All right, sorry. Okay, so before it dries all the way, I'm gonna go ahead, kind of get a visual of where this is gonna be, and then try to get my printable here just right, kind of right in the middle. Doesn't really have to be perfect, just kind of close. Then I'm going to get a stiff bristled brush, and I do get these at Dollar Tree. You can also use a big, like the chip brush like I used to paint on. You can use one of those, and I'm just going to kind of pounce this down. And adhere it without tearing it or rubbing it, and it kind of helps get rid of some of the wrinkles as well. This is also a really good technique if the base that you're using has texture to it, because this will help your printable get down into that texture. It's okay if it has a few wrinkles. I don't really mind. Sometimes as it dries, that will pull out. You can spritz it with a little bit of fine mist water if you want them to pull out even more. Okay, let's give it a dry. still just a little bit tacky. But it's mostly dry here. So now I'm going to take my mini sander and I want to work around the edges to kind of lightly sand them, feather them in just a little bit so it looks a little bit more natural. And you don't want to put a whole lot of pressure here unless you want to really pull away the paper. If you have a little bit of paper like in places like you don't need it, you can put, you know, if you want to pull that away, then you can do it with your sanding tool. But this just kind of thins it out a little bit, blends it in. If you want to kind of distress your writing, your print, then you can do that here too. Just give it a little bit of pressure. And this is just in a little bit of an extra step. You don't have to do this part, but I just find that it really helps to kind of meld that printable into your base where it looks a little bit more natural once you've finished your process. Kind of helps it not be such a straight, defined line. You don't want to press really hard. Kind of play with your pressure. Do it really light, and then you can kind of go a little bit firmer if you need to. Give it a little bit of distressing over the top here. Nothing too heavy. And here is what we have so far. It's blended in pretty good, I think. All right, so to give it just a little bit more, let's go ahead with that mineral color that I used before and kind of touch around those edges. And here I'm going to just use my baby wipe to kind of lighten it up a little bit because I don't want a lot. I just want a little touch around those edges. Kind of just wiping it on and then back off. Nothing real heavy. You can kind of do a few spots on in your white part if you want. It's just an old jar of jam. Suki says she likes that tip. She always gets too much paint when trying to blend in the edge. It's easy to do, so I always try to keep some baby wipes handy so that I can wipe it back. And if you will apply, you can even, I haven't yet, but you can put the Mod Podge, go ahead and put it on your design first, and then it's even easier to wipe back once you have that Mod Podge covering it. Okay, so let's make sure that's dry. And you know, while that's drying, I think I'm gonna go ahead, let's move it to the side a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and paint this with this same color. So let's give it a little bit of that mineral color. See how it turns out. If this side doesn't look good, we'll use the other side, but I'm not sure. Because the other side is just kind of plain cardboard and it might end up looking better. We'll see. I have never tried this technique before. Normally I just get rid of this and grab a piece of cardboard, but I figured I'd try it today and see how it goes. I'm gonna kind of tap some of that paint down in the grooves. So here we just have a little bit, it's kind of scattered a little bit. It looks a little bit rustic, so I'm gonna leave it. Let's see how that dries. And then I'll see what else I wanna do to it. Probably add a little antique wax or something to make it look a little rusty. We'll see. Okay. Our back's still looking pretty clean. I didn't get any paint on there, but I wanna make sure, I think I can move this now. So let's add some Mod Podge to the top to seal this in. I think it's dry now. So just give good coverage on our design there and get my sponge back and get it smeared in. And it's kind of hazy right now, but it's gonna dry clear. So we're just gonna set that over to the side and let that dry. We're gonna let our top dry and work on our bow because we're gonna need a bow. All right, I'm gonna use my bow dabber for this. If you don't have a bow dabber, you can just use your hands or whatever, but I like to use my little tool here because it just helps hold it all together for me. So I'm gonna put in a piece of twine in the bottom. And then I have some strips of fabric here that I thought were coordinating with my piece. So I don't think I'm gonna use that one. I think I'm gonna start with, I have some black and white ticking. So I'm gonna, this is only on one side. So whenever I have fabric that's only on one side, I kind of lay it down in the middle and then fold my loops over. I'm not gonna make super long tails here because I don't want it to cover up my cute printable. And I did cut some wider pieces this time. This is probably, let's see, about 1 inch wide. Normally I'll do more like 1/2 inch, but it was a bigger piece, so I thought I had room for a little bit more. So I'm just gonna start putting kind of some alternating colors here. I have this pretty kind of taupe plaid, and so I'm gonna put that in here. It's also one-sided, so I'm gonna use my same trick, put it in the middle, and then fold over a couple of loops. And these are just strips of fabric that I tore. I have some drop cloth here that I'm going to just do the same method with. Just adding in some neutrals and then this lovely red and off-white plaid that I thought would look really cute with my strawberries. So I'm gonna add in a couple of pieces of that. and just kind of repeat that same process. I also have a little gray and white striped ticking material here that I'm going to use. And you can adjust your loops. That's what I love about this too. As you're working, it holds everything nice and tight. So if you need to adjust something, you can. Just put a little bit of that. And I'm just kind of randomly putting things in here too. Not trying to make it really be perfect. Just kind of a messy little rag material bow. That'll be nice and cute. Make sure I get enough of the red in here for sure. Suki says she loves her Bodabra. Me too. Very handy. I have the regular size and the mini size for when I'm making small bows. All right, I think I've got a good variety here. I'm trying to decide if I want my red to be on top or if I want a different color, but I do think that I'm gonna let the red be on top. So I think that's enough. I'm gonna put these back to the side. I'll use them later or on something else, and then just go ahead and tie this up. Very easy, just kind of cinch it up. Kind of wiggle your layers a little bit, smash them down, and then you can get it really tight and tie a knot in the back, and you've got a bow. For this project, I'm not gonna tie it on, so I can cut off my extra pieces here. And then you can just kind of pull your pieces around. And I'll fluff it up a little bit more too once I get it on my project where I can see really how I want it to look. Make sure that red's peeking through for sure. Okay, of course I have some extra ends. I'll probably cut it more once I get it on there as well. But for now, you can see we've kind of got all the layers, and it just gives it a nice full look. Even if they don't all show up, you kind of just need it for the volume. And then we'll work on getting the ends finished and then frayed up really good. Okay. So let's pull our piece back. Get some of these strings off of here. It's not dry yet, so let's give it a dry. Sometimes it can take this glue a little bit to dry. But you do want to make sure that it's dry before you move on, because you don't want to get any weird like prints in it or scuffs. smudges. Okay, it's mostly dry, and I think it will go ahead and clear up a little bit more, but here's what we have so far. You can see the edges are just a little bit feathered in and distressed. And I'll probably be working on that some more too. Before I go too far, I do want to go ahead and add my little hanger back on. So I'm just going to use a staple gun for that. Just to make sure it doesn't fall off. And I don't want to, I've kind of learned this. Go ahead and do this now before I get everything put on the front, because it gets a lot harder to do. And I'm putting my mat down because it is a little thin since it's a Dollar Tree sign, and sometimes the edges of those staples will kind of poke back through. But I just won't put a whole lot of pressure there. Well, maybe I'm out of staples. Goodness gracious. I don't know if I have those just right here or not. Okay, I guess I'm not going to staple it on right now. Let me just put that up, and I will add it later. I'll put some staples in. You can hot glue it. It's not really a heavy sign. You could hot glue it and put like a little bit of material over the back if you wanted to secure it, but I'm going to wait and get some staples in just a bit, and I'll put that on. So just a couple of different options there. All right, let's go ahead. I think that's going to be cute, so I'm going to go ahead and add this top here. I need a new glue stick. This is kind of the day where like whatever can go wrong, it's going to go wrong. I don't know what's going on today, but that's okay. We're going to work through it. It needs a new glue stick, and sometimes it's hard to add those back in and get them going. We got it. Okay. So just kind of get that centered on there and press it down. It's still a little bit wet. Just give it a bit of a dry. Kind of changed it from that gold color to more of a kind of a taupey color that would match my design better. So we've got that. And then let's go ahead and take a little bit of antiquing wax and see if we can get it a little bit rusty looking. I'm just going to go around the edges. Kind of helps to give it a little shadow and definition. Kind of makes it look a little old and worn and used. If you like that style, which I do. And then I'm going to use my wet wipe just to smudge it a little. And then I'm going to also go around the edges of my piece. Normally on crafts I would kind of move it across, but I don't want this one to get too dark, so I'll go back a little bit, but I'm not going to pull it way across my jar here. Just going to kind of keep it at the edges. Maybe a little extra at the bottom where it would sit and get kind of dirty naturally. Kind of mimic that a little bit. And remember, I do have the Mod Podge on here, so I can kind of control how much of that stays on and how much I can wipe off. And then I think I'll put a little bit also right under the rim of this. Smudge it up a little bit here too. Okay. So here's what we have now, just a little bit extra on the edges, kind of at the bottom there and around that lid, just to make it look like it's a little bit old. Okay, now we can add our bow and a little bit of greenery, and that should really top it off. I love kind of pulling all the final touches and pieces in together. So I'm just gonna add this over here on the edge. I think I will put it up on the lid a little bit, just to give more space for my design here. Okay. And I may also come back and add some staples to this bow, just to make sure that it stays really nice and secure on here as well. All right, and I do have room for some of these edges, so I'm just gonna kind of take my scissors here and just dress those a little bit, kind of tatter them and get them nice and fringy. Just kind of rough everything up a little bit so it doesn't look super straight cut. Kind of want some strings and fringes and just tattered edges. Okay, so we've got that. You can kind of just keep fluffing it up, pulling stuff around. I could probably sit and mess with it forever. Sometimes I just have to make myself stop. And you know, you can still kind of pull this, like this piece was a little bit big and it was covering up that red. So I'm just pulling, adjusting some of my loops a little bit. You can still work on it. I think I'm gonna have to cut this. You can still work on it even after it's finished to get it how you want. Okay, there's that. Now I have some boxwood greenery pieces here, and I did get these at Walmart, and I just think they look really cute with the strawberry. I don't really have any strawberry leaves, so I'm just gonna use this greenery to add a little bit of detail behind my bow. Kind of fill in some of these gaps. And any little extra pieces that you have, just kind of fill that in, make it look cute. I kind of just stick it in different places, see if I like where it's at, and then glue it in. If you're stapling, you can also just staple it in there. But I think the hot glue holds it pretty well. It's not heavy or anything like that, so. Just kind of putting it in where it's peeking out a little bit. And let's probably put some on the other side too. A little down here on the bottom. Perfect. Okay, and then I had some of these flowers. I think I got these from Dollar Tree. They kind of look a little bit like strawberry flowers to me, so I thought I would just add a few of them in as well. Put a little maybe on top of my bow. Something like this. Just drizzle a little glue on there, and then you can just press this down and it should stay. And then we'll get a couple to add in to our greenery here. Maybe right there. All right, very cute. I love it. Get my glue strings away. This is kind of a little too long. Got glue strings everywhere. Okay, I think this is good. It's super cute. You can add, you know, more greenery. It just depends on how full you want it to look. But here we go, just a little bow with some greenery and strawberry flowers and our printable there. I'll add the little string hanger in a little bit, and then you can hang it up, and it's just a cute little kitchen sign, little farmhouse decoration. So I love it. Let me know what you think, and if you're watching the replay, be sure to say hi so that I can say hi back. So thanks everyone for joining me for a little bit today, and I hope this inspired you to get a little crafty. See you later.